This is Ramon and the channel is Alpha 4, and today we're going to talk about ethics in fighting. This is, I believe, part 3 of this series, and we're going to do virtues part 2. The numbers get confusing, don't they? Alright, so today we're going to go over magnanimity, mercy, decisiveness, diligence, liberality, righteous indignation, forgiveness, zeal, prudence, and honesty, okay, and how they relate to fighting. So magnanimity is noble generosity. So the question here is this generosity? Is this when you're giving when you have more than enough? So that could be noble generosity, when you have an abundance and you share. Or is this in the more Christian tradition of, let's say, sharing even when you don't have enough for yourself? To the Spartans, that would be a crazy idea. But you got to question yourself on whether or not this is a good idea or a bad thing. So noble generosity means giving of an abundance. Well, generosity in a Christian sense would be giving even when you don't have enough for yourself. Something to think about. All right, next comes mercy. And this is going to be kind compassion. But the thing about this is that you got to go back to a pre-Christian pagan ideology and a pagan way of thinking. This is not a modern way of thinking. So mercy here in our context would be forgiveness even when it's not earned. But mercy in a Spartan context, in the context of Pankration, well, that is not about just forgiveness, blanket forgiveness. No, it's about showing mercy to your enemy. So you defeat them quickly. You defeat your enemy as painlessly as possible. That is mercy in the Pankration sense of the word, in the Spartan sense of the word. Okay. Then there's decisiveness, okay? And decisiveness is the ability to reach a decision in a prompt and timely manner. And this is making a decision and sticking to it, okay? This is not just simply, oh, I'm going to make a snap decision. No, this is thinking it through, making the decision as quickly as you can, and then sticking to it. Diligence, and this is, okay, this is to give proper attention to. So this is like if you're going to read a book, you read it slowly and carefully. It doesn't matter that other people can read it in like a week or a day. You take the time to really think about what you're reading. And in your training, you take the time to really think about what you're doing. So you're not out there doing cardio boxing. You're not out there doing CrossFit. You're training with proper form, okay? So when you're doing your weightlifting, when you're doing your resistance training, you're doing it in a good tempo and you're working on form, and you don't care about being the strongest or being the fastest. You want to be the best at doing that one particular thing. When you're working on your martial arts, when you're working on your strategy, when you're working on your fighting, your tactics, you're worried about getting the perfect punch and throwing it correctly, okay? You're not worried about being the fastest or being the strongest at that one particular punch, okay? You're trying to get the best of what you're doing, okay? So if you're paying proper due diligence to your training, they'll show up in your performance. So you want really strong performance here, okay? Liberality, and this is open-mindedness. So this is being willing to hear all sides, even when those sides are against you and their opinions are the opposite of how you feel or think. You don't care about that. You care about the facts, okay? That is going to be liberality. That is going to be open-mindedness to all points of view. And then you can use decisiveness to make a decision from there. Righteous indignation. And this is being angry at the right thing for the right reason in the moment of the offense, but not past that moment. Okay? So this is not seeking revenge. This is not going after someone. This is in the moment that you are offended, being angry because something bad happened to you. This is righteous indignation, not just anger. Then there is forgiveness, and this is to give or grant a pardon, an allowance, or an absolution. And this is simple forgiveness. Once you've given forgiveness, you've given a gift, okay? Forgiveness is a gift. Once it's given, it's done. You can't go back on it. Enthusiasm, okay? This is zeal. This is sincere interest in the performance of one's duty. This is taking your training and taking it as seriously as possibly and working hard even on days you don't want to train. This means giving it your 100% every single time. It doesn't matter if it's hard, it doesn't matter if you're just not feeling up to it that day, you give it 100%. Then there comes prudence. This is wisdom, okay? And this is doing what should or ought to be done. This is where knowledge meets experience. This is where theory meets practicality, okay? Wisdom here is good judgment. This is not what we would think of wisdom, where we're like a football game, you know, what's your philosophy of a football game? That's not this, man. This wisdom is Sophia, okay? This is Greek, okay? This is the goddess of wisdom. This is loving knowledge, loving truth, and seeking it in all things. That includes martial arts. That includes pankration. That includes life. And then lastly, we have honesty or integrity. This would be truthfulness. And this is very simple. This is not lying. Now, as you can see, the definitions here and the understanding here is different than our modern understanding of these words. Yes, the definitions are similar because our words for these terms, for these ideas, come from the Greek and the Roman words, but they're not the same thing. And if you're going to train in a martial art that has these principles, these virtues, you're going to want to dedicate yourself to them, and you're going to want to use them in your training. You're going to want to train as hard as you can with these principles in mind. So that was ethics in fighting. We have one more set of 10 virtues, and then we get into the vices, which is much more fun for you guys. Peace, like, subscribe. This is Ramon, the channel's Alpha 4. Rock and roll. Also, new angle, huh?